call to order our public hearing work session. It's Monday, February the 2nd, 6:30. Officially called to order. We'll begin our agenda tonight with a public hearing, and we'll call to order that public hearing's request 2026-01 variance requested by D.R. Horton for properties located in land lot 13 parcels 435, 439, 458 through 462 and 463 through 466, the 20th District, 2nd Section of Cobb County, Georgia, otherwise known as 4822, 4820, 4818, 4816, 4814, 4810, 4808, 4806, 4804, 4802, 4800 Guava Trace, and 4916, 4914, 4912, 4910, 4908, 4906, 4904, 4902, and 4900 Balsa Point. The applicant is requesting The applicant is requesting varied front setback relief from 50.5G from our ordinance. So you want me to do that again?
No, all right.
Okay, so we're officially called to order. We'll ask the applicant to come forward and make your presentation to the mayor and the board tonight.
I can't remember my password.
State your name and address for the record, please, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Danny Blumenthal with Gaskins LaCroix, 1266 Powder Springs Road in Marietta, Georgia. Good evening, and thanks for the opportunity to speak here this evening. D.R. Horton, sorry, we've got a presentation, I think. It should be up there, but I'll get started either way. So D.R. Horton is requesting a variance from 50.5G of the previous version of the code to reduce the required front setback from 20 feet to a variable setback between 11.5 and 13 feet. This variance is required to accommodate functional rear patios, comply with building separation requirements, and reduce the slope between adjacent homes. And these adjustments will result in safe and usable rear yards for future homeowners. If we can get to the timeline slide, please. Cool, awesome, thank you. So the circumstances necessitating this variance are not the result of any actions by D.R. Horton. D.R. Horton purchased the property after the site had already been graded based off an approved LDP, land disturbance permit, and it was platted. It's our understanding that grading was based upon previously approved house plans that did not meet the minimum heated square footage requirements of the city. And the house plans were later revised to meet the minimum requirements, but the lots were not able to properly accommodate the larger building footprints. As a result, the rear yards have steep slopes, some beginning beneath where the patios will be located once the homes are built, and required building separation cannot be met. These conditions, again, were not due to any actions by D.R. Horton, and they were created prior to the applicant's ownership of this property. So this request, if you can go to the next slide, please. Yeah, this one. Thank you. So this request impacts 4 buildings. I know it's a lot of addresses here, but they're townhomes, so it's 4 buildings that are impacted, and that's why I have that column on the left. The requested setback for buildings 1 and 2 is the same, and those are side by side, and same for 3 and 4. Those are the same requested setbacks for those. So the adjustment will not look out of place or inconsistent with surrounding development. When you look down the street, the houses will be in line with each other as they are throughout the subdivision. And this next slide outlines the impacted buildings on the overall site plan. They're kind of hard to see here, but outlined in red. You can see the buildings that are impacted by this variance request. And the following slide showed the exhibits that we submitted for each building. I think we can just quickly go over these, but you can just see this is basically a survey of this area, and then we put on there where the buildings will be if the variance is approved. If we could just scroll through these, please. So we have a 7-foot setback reduction for buildings 1 and 2, and then an 8.5-foot reduction from buildings 3 and 4. And the final 2, the next slide has some photos here. So this shows where the back of the patios will fall under current conditions if this variance isn't approved. Shifting the buildings forward would allow us to meet required building separation and to reduce the slopes compared to what's shown currently in these photos. D.R. Horton is in agreement with staff's recommended conditions. We respectfully request that you follow staff's recommendation and approve the requested variance. And please let us know if you have any questions or comments on this. Thank you so much.
Mr. Brown?
Good evening, Mayor and Board of Aldermen. This is request 2026-01-VAR for 2600 Baker Road, units 146 through 176. So a bit of background information. The property was annexed and rezoned in 2020 under Ordinance 2020-20 and 2021. This ordinance is in the agenda packet. The civil plans were approved in 2021, and D.R. Horton took over the project in 2023. Additionally, there have been 2 other variance requests in this subdivision, one for 6 inches of side setback relief and one for lot line reduction in the stream bank buffer. The request summary. The applicant is requesting variable front setback relief for the following units. Units 151 through 156, they're requesting 7 feet of relief, leaving a 13-foot setback remaining. Units 168 through 176, they are requesting 8.5 feet of relief, leaving 11.5 feet of setback remaining. The standard ordinance requires a 20-foot setback. Some background information. The total acreage of all of the impacted units is 1.26 acres. They are currently zoned RC. It's currently used as a mixed single-family residential development, and on the future land use map, it is designated as north and south perimeter living. In accordance with Section 73-11.8.7, City staff will provide a technical analysis on the following criteria. A full analysis can be found in the agenda packet. Review criteria 1. The variance shall be consistent with the intent of this zoning ordinance and the comprehensive plan and shall not be injurious to the neighborhood or otherwise detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare. City staff finds that this request is not consistent with the intent of the zoning ordinance, since the ordinance is intended to create a consistent front setback within neighborhoods and zoning districts. However, a reduced front setback does not imperil the public health, safety, or welfare. Criteria 2. Special conditions and/or circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, buildings, or structures involved and which are not applicable to other lands, buildings, or structures in the same zoning district. City staff finds that the previous developer improperly graded the pads to support a building footprint that is below the minimum square footage requirement outlined in Ordinance number 2020-20 and 21. This improper grading was not completed by the current developer and constitutes a special condition that is unique to the development. Review criteria 3. Literal interpretations of the provisions of the regulations would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same zoning district under the terms of the ordinance and would result in an unnecessary and undue hardship on the applicant. Staff finds that the literal interpretations of the provisions of the regulations would not deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties, since the hardship was ultimately man-made. The Planning and Zoning Commission heard this request at the January 27, 2026 regular meeting. The Commission asked questions regarding if the front setback relief would impact the sidewalk, potential alternative solutions, such as regrading or adjusting the footprint of the units, and for further background on how the development got to this point. Ultimately, Commissioner Richardson motioned to deny the request. Brown seconded. The vote was unanimous, 8-0. Thank you.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so if there's anyone in the audience tonight that would like to make comment concerning this request by D.R. Horton, you may do so at this time. You see that no one in the audience would like to make comment, we'll ask our board members for their comments.
Mr. Mayor, in regards to this, I'm going to vote to deny. We've worked very hard to maintain our 20-foot initial setback so that we can get a car in our driveways. We have worked with this parcel numerous times over the years, and so I support what planning and zoning has said because that's our goal with our zoning ordinance. So I will vote for deny.
Oh, wow, that was a lot. So we've been here before, right? I mean, we've discussed this piece of property and a setback before.
I don't think these particular pieces are.
But in that subdivision.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I think P&Z had a very good question. How'd we get here?
Yes, sir. So when the property was annexed and rezoned into the city, it was annexed under certain stipulations. One of those stipulations was a minimum footprint for the house. That stipulation was essentially disregarded by the people who graded the property, and they graded for a smaller size unit. D.R. Horton then took over the project and found that this required footprint, this larger required footprint, wouldn't fit on the grading that had been done, resulting in this variance request.
Okay. And so what I'm hearing is that there was a developer before that stopped developing or gave up or went away or filed bankrupt, whatever happened to them. And then the new folks have come in and taken over on that. I don't know what all kind of questions I can ask, so stay with me here. Stay with me, brother. So
Let me just
okay,
let
please.
me give you some insight.
If you can,
The
please.
initial developer was a developer that bought the property, developed the property, went through the zoning process, and actually created the site plan that we approved. And then their job was to develop the property. D.R. Horton would buy the lots from them finished.
Oh.
So it would be it's not like that the particular developer came in, went bankrupt, or just whatever.
Oh.
They were doing everything with the specific purpose to sell the lots in the end, the developed lots, to D.R. Horton.
So the developer of the land, is it fair that I make the statement that it sounds like they made a mistake?
Yes. Yeah,
The question is, does this fit our zoning ordinance? We don't need the history. It's really, does it fit our zoning ordinance?
Well, I understand that, but I'm just trying to understand why we're here. So, on that. Okay. My question, and it must come right back to you too, is because the first thing I wrote down is driveways. I mean, are you going to be able to park a car in that? Are you going to be able to park a car in that driveway and not be blocking the sidewalk?
I'll cede to the applicant on that point for further clarification.
So there will be, how we showed it in the exhibits, there is a minimum measured from the back of the sidewalk, 17.5 feet, which is the length of the standard F-150. But there was actually a staff recommended condition to make the minimum driveway from the back of sidewalk to the garage 18 feet, which we'll be able to squeeze in. So there'll be 18 feet from the garage to the sidewalk, so any standard van or truck should not be impeding on the sidewalk in any way.
Should not block the sidewalk in any way.
Correct.
Okay. That's all my comments.
Okay. Other comments? Okay. Ms. House?
Yeah, I don't know enough to comment.
Yeah, I agree with Toby.
Okay.
We need to keep the 20 feet. Because even if the 18 feet, you're going to have, that's just somebody that's being mindful of, I need to pull up far as I can. Now, normally when you pull in the driveway, you just pull in and you get out your car. You ain't going to make sure you up and not blocking the sidewalk. So.
Okay, so then is there consensus to put this on our consent agenda to deny this request?
I would move to
Yes.
deny this request.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay, then we're going to ask our city clerk to put this on our consent agenda as a denial, that the board would deny this request on Thursday night on their consent agenda. Any other comments? Any other comments? Okay, at this time then we'll close this public hearing. We'll come to the next item. It's a presentation from the police department, budget visioning presentation.
Okay, Mr. Mayor and Board, thank you for this opportunity to present to you in this format. I greatly appreciate it. Before I begin, I just want to say thanks to the board and for not just all the support that we've received from y'all, but from also all the other departments within the city, because we're only successful because of the support that we get, not just from our citizens, but from all the departments within the city. We achieved a lot in 2025 that we should be proud of, and this is an opportunity to cover that as well as look ahead into 2026. So, Regina, I think you're just going to have to do it for me. It's not working. You can go on. So this is how the department's laid out. Not to get into the weeds too much, as you know, recently we kind of shifted in terms of the organizational structure of the department. We had the chief, major, and then captain, and we now have 5 lieutenants positions within the agency. 2 lieutenants are assigned to the patrol division, 1 days and 1 covering nights. That's allows us to have a bigger footprint, a bigger area for experience to help see more officers at their disposal when they need one, instead of a lieutenant just being there typically during the daytime. So you can see field operations is what we call for patrol, special ops, and CID. And then under our administrative division, which is our support system, is the records division, Office of Professional Standards and Training, community affairs, and you can see how it's delineated with the rank structure underneath that. Okay, this first slide is that's Corporal Hardy and our victim advocate Emily Hall. This is a special recognition that both of them received. Corporal Hardy worked an incredibly difficult child molestation case that I won't get into the details with, but it was a case that was incredibly impactful to everybody that was involved, and a good outcome came from that. It entailed many interviews, the placement of a child in a different environment, and this child is now thriving because of that. And Corporal Hardy was awarded the Officer of the Year Award at our annual banquet for 2025. And our victim advocate, Emily Hall, was recognized as our Civilian of the Year, because while people see police departments, they just think of an officer in a uniform, and we're so much more than that, because we couldn't be successful without it. To put that in perspective, Lieutenant Green, when he was over our criminal investigations division in a meeting, he kind of stopped the meeting and said, "I don't know if y'all realize how valuable Emily Hall is to our department." He said, "We would not be able to do what we do without her. She has been incredibly valuable." And to put that in perspective, she averages 52 cases a month. That's 52 families, victims, children, single parents that she's providing a resource. She is a conduit between our department and people in our community that have needs, because typically a victim witness unit at a district attorney's office, you don't get access to that unless somebody has gone to jail and there's a case pending. But the vast majority of calls that we go on, nobody's going to jail, but yet there's still people out there that have a desperate need, and she is a conduit for that. Next, you'll see Corporal Sievertson. She was recognized, if you remember, for her life-saving efforts with the Life Vac system, and even received national attention from that. And since this photo, she's already saved another life, if you can imagine. And so we're incredibly proud of that. And because of her initiative, the department as life vacts in every single patrol car and inside our police department. Good to go. Thank you very much, Andy. I appreciate that. Next is Macy Williams. She is our crime analyst. In 2025, she completed a 170-hour course regarding crime analyst and has really been an asset to the Criminal Investigations Division. She also completed what is needed for what's called a 107 pilot's license, and she's going to be leading the charge on our DFR, our Drone First Responder Program. Next is Lieutenant Hunt. Lieutenant Hunt is the longest serving member of our police department, just celebrated 26 years. He has just recently been assigned to the training division, which is well suited for his background and his pedigree. He was recognized by the Cobb Chamber of Commerce for his 25 years of dedication to the Acworth community. And lastly is the Acworth Cadet Program, and that's led by Sergeant Mistretta, who I'm sure you all know very well. He has done an outstanding job in mentoring these young adults who wish to know more about law enforcement and get involved. This is pretty staggering. His participation has increased 75% since the year before. Last year, they competed in multiple events against other cadet programs. They took home 13 trophies and were placed second in the latest competition that they participated in. And together, they volunteered over 2,900 hours of community service. So clearly, that's very important to them. As I told you earlier, or last year, when we got back, I can't tell you how important this was for our department. And the fact that you approved us for an unbudgeted trip for over 10 employees, 10 team members to go up and properly honor and recognize Officer Rainey, who was murdered in the line of duty, who never received a proper recognition. And we were finally able to put together the paperwork necessary to meet all the standards that requires. His name is on the National Mall. I know Alderman North, I think I can speak for him, and said that it was an impactful event. And I know how lucky we are to have a council to support us showing our appreciation to somebody that gave their life 75 years ago. So we greatly appreciate that. Next is our Citizens Police Academy. Last year was a milestone. We celebrated 25 years of our Citizens Police Academy. And without a doubt, that is the most impactful outreach program our agency does, because when we graduate these typically eager citizens, and even some that don't necessarily live in the city, but they're just interested about our agency, it gives them a new understanding of law enforcement and a better appreciation of the job that these men and women have to do every single day. And when they graduate, they're ambassadors to our police department. They know us inside and out. We're incredibly transparent. And so, as I sent you an email earlier today, we're going to kick off our 26th year here shortly. Our department is known for its community outreach. And I think that's supposed to be a video playing in the back, but if it's not. So we've been recognized by the state, at the state level, by the governor, and also by at the federal level by the FBI for all of our outreach programs. And this is one of our favorites. It started 15 years ago as a toy shop, and it has grown tremendously. And this is because of our community. We're just a conduit for the giving nature of the citizens that we serve. We helped over 100 families with 300 kids total that had a Christmas that otherwise would not have. And again, that is a collaborative effort because of the support and the trust that the community has with this police department. And I think it's pretty overwhelming. If you've ever stopped in and see it, it's actually incredible to watch these kids get these presents. So that's a program we're incredibly proud of. We saw a lot of opportunities for growth last year. We promoted Major Taylor, who has served with the agency. Coming up in April, it'll be 25 years that he has dedicated his career to this city, and we're very appreciative. We promoted Lieutenant Green, who's now assigned to patrol. Corporal Tao is on the patrol division, and then we promoted Elizabeth Andrews, who's a newly designated position called Chief of Staff. She's the right-hand lady, if you will, of the command staff, and she really fills a gap for us and helps us get the job done. Jamila Jow, she came over to us from, she was assigned to records, and when Elizabeth got promoted, when Ms. Andrews got promoted to Chief of Staff, she put in her application, and we eagerly accepted that application because I knew the quality and the work ethic that she brings to the table. So she is now our accreditation manager. As you know, our department is accredited through the Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police. There's roughly 537 cities in the state of Georgia, and only about 180 are accredited, meaning that they meet the standards required, that your department's providing a service that at least meets industry standards. So we're incredibly proud to have Jamila on our team as well. Last year, we had hundreds and hundreds of interviews. So you would think, why in the world would we have any openings? Well, we're not going to lower our standards regardless of situation. We're only going to employ who we believe is the caliber of people that you would trust to put a badge and gun with. So last year, out of all the hundreds of applications, we interviewed 113. So a lot more than 113 applied. We just saw them on paper, said, yes, we'll interview those. We interviewed 113. Of the 113, only 41 made it through the interview process. That's the first leap and hoop you have to jump through, so to speak. Of the 41 that were submitted a background application, we hired 11. So we dwindle it down. So it sounds like it's a large pool of candidates, but at the end of the day, it's incredibly difficult to get a job in this profession, and especially at this police department. We had equipment upgrades. As you know, we changed our badge this past year. Nothing was wrong with our old badge, but it was a cookie cutter badge, and so I wanted to take an opportunity to have something for the officers that symbolized where they work and something that's unique to them. Nobody else in the state or the country has a badge like ours, and it's been met with much fanfare. Because of your support last year, if you'll remember, at last year's visioning session, I requested that we buy barricades, and I think Alderman Houston said, do you only need one set of barricades? Well, only because of your support and granting, we were able to get basically a trailer, which is a kit, and then we only needed half of another one. And we've been able to deploy those at all of our city events. And this is to help keep events safe in specific areas. And so they're put to good use, but only because you trust it. That's a large investment for y'all to give us that. So thank you very much. We transitioned our backup weapons to the Model 48 Glock that was bought with the asset forfeiture fund, so it didn't come out of the general fund. Taxpayers didn't pay that. And I'd be remiss to not tell you also that the barricades came from the asset forfeiture fund. So that wasn't at taxpayer expense either. And then the blue gun that you see down there, that is what's called a simunition gun. And that is for, basically it shoots paintballs. It allows officers to get in different training scenarios where they can actually shoot a firearm that only shoots paintballs. It's a more realistic way for training officers, and we've been utilizing that as well for many years. Last year we implemented a mandatory required BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu program. So every person in the police department that is in an enforcement capacity, from the chief all the way down to the PSL, all of them are required to go through BJJ mandated training. And this training is proven to help officers with hands-on when they have to use some level of force. And so if anybody is wearing a gun, or if they're a PSL, should they have to, they'll be able to more properly defend themselves and take somebody into custody and subdue somebody with least amount of force possible. So if any time we can do hands-on rather than have to use any type of weapon, we would much rather do that. So that's a program that we started in 2025. Here's the end-of-year review for statistics. In 2025, we responded to 22,367 calls, either officer-initiated or 911 calls. And we wrote over 5,000 citations in 2025. And when you compare the use of force with arrest, How many times did we have to use force when effecting an arrest? Compared to 2024, we saw a 38% reduction in the number of times that we had to use force, which is significant and should be highlighted. And then our records division processed over 3,700 open records requests last year. How many? 3,700. Moving forward and looking ahead, we see, and as you all are very well aware of, the multi-jurisdictional training facility that we are knee-deep in right now and have got a lot of support from other jurisdictions that are facing the same crisis. But I'm proud to say that we're the ones that are leading the charge, that are brave enough to stand up and say, we've got to fix this before that we run out of any options. And so we are in the middle of it. As we have meetings on this about every 2 weeks right now, and other agencies, other municipalities, either chiefs or mayors, have come up to me and said, thank you for doing this, because we need it just as badly. So we're leading the charge on that, and we should be incredibly proud. The DFR program, that stands for Drone First Responder. As you recall, back in December, you signed the agreement with Flock for 5 years, and that allows us to better serve our citizens, and it's a force multiplier. We'll deploy 2 drones. One of them is going to be stationed here on the roof of City Hall. The other one would be at the police department. And what it does, it allows us to respond to calls more effectively and more quickly to get quote-unquote eyes-on situations. Not only that, it's going to come with what's called Flock 911. It's going to provide a transcript instantaneously from the 911 call center to an officer that can read what happens, because believe it or not, when somebody calls 911, the dispatcher can't remember every single thing that's happened, especially in a chaotic scene. This transcript will be provided to the officers immediately, because sometimes dispatchers get caught up and they can't relay every single thing, and they don't know what's most important most of the time, or some of the times I should say. We're also replacing our Fusus with what's called Flock OS. And Flock OS will replace that program that we have and allow businesses still for us to have some level of access to their cameras, the ones that wish to partner with us. In the middle picture here, you'll see that's what is what's called a pepper gun. We had a demonstration last year. This is another tool that we could have, and again, we don't have these yet. This is what we're planning for 2026 with asset forfeiture funds. Pepper guns are an opportunity for officers to get compliance without having to go hands-on. If somebody barricades themselves in a room or a vehicle refusing to come out or something, so that's just one example, pepper balls could be deployed, and compliance is pretty much instantaneous. I can tell you I was affected by it. I think Major was. Were you there? No, he wasn't there. He was busy that day somehow. So I can tell you that the gentleman shot it about 20 feet away. The wind picked it up, and I didn't think I got hit by it, and I was out. And because the wind was going a different way than it changed, and it was an incredibly impressive piece of equipment that I believe the department could benefit from. The top right picture is going to show you what the state is mandating. This is a requirement by the state of Georgia. By July 1st of 2027, we will be required to have a device to be able to digitally accept somebody's driver's license. We don't have any say in this. The state's mandating it. So we have time to prepare for that. And
so is that another unfunded mandate? Are they going to give us money to buy those?
That was my first question. I haven't come across any funding mandate or funding opportunities for that, but James Friedrich will probably research that for us and find us some. And then on the bottom left, you can see Central Square. That is the company that we have a current litigation case with, but we are happy to report that we are really close to going live with them. We've still got some training that we have to do and some bugs to work out, but that's going to be our new reporting software. And this was from this is a SPLOS purchase from 2016, I believe I'm correct with that, City Manager Albright. Local ordinances. So after reviewing, obviously the city has its own set of ordinances, and reviewing some things that impact the police department, is there an opportunity for us to do something better, something more effective, more efficient? And I believe that there is. So this year, I'm going to propose to this council, to this board, that we put together an alarm ordinance. And it's kind of hard to see there, but in 2023, we responded to just under 1,000 alarm calls. And when we get alarm calls, we don't have the luxury of deciding, do we want to respond or not? But 93% in 2023 were false. Fast forward to last year, it's the same trend. 93.97 are false. I believe an alarm ordinance, and we've already done studies with the city of Marietta and Cobb County. They saw a significant reduction. So this increases the amount of time officers are on the road rather than responding to false alarm calls. So I plan on presenting that to y'all later this year. Then we have our PTV. As you're aware, we've been working on updating the PTV ordinance, which was approved and will go into effect April 1st. Captain Elledge is leading the charge on our end to how to educate our citizens as well as our officers as we've restructured that entire ordinance. Recruitment and retention, that this still remains a top priority, and last year in the fiscal year you approved a new position, our community affairs and recruitment position. It's a civilian position, and today we had someone start their very first day in that position. Very excited for that because it's our intention to only hire those who are qualified and best suited to serve this community. So we're looking forward to having them on board. Any questions?
In your ordinances, Chief, you didn't mention, but you're going to also be exploring e-bikes, right? Ordinance.
Yes. You're talking about a separate?
Yes.
That's not included with the PTVs necessarily? Yes.
Yes. Okay. Because we need to get on that one. So, okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey,
okay.
Current staffing percentage.
We have 6 sworn openings and 1 civilian. Do we have 1 civilian, or today she got the PS? Yes, yes. So 6 sworn and 1 civilian.
Okay. And where were you this time last year?
I couldn't.
You were like 11, weren't you?
I honestly don't know off the top of my head.
So you're feeling okay. I know it's hard. I know how difficult it is for you to fill positions. So
we're a total of 61 sworn and civilian throughout the department.
Okay. Good job.
So I have a question about the drones.
Yes, sir.
So the people that operate them have to be a certified drone operator, or so how's that going to work? Who's going to deploy it and who's going to follow it?
Correct. Yes. So in order to take advantage of the way that it's written, because we have to follow the federal regulations, and by having somebody that has their 107 pilot's license, it allows a wider berth of what you can and can't do. So it's a program that you go through, and Macy's already completed that, and she's going to be leading our new DFR program. So if you didn't have somebody that was a certified pilot, you would be much more restricted in what you can do.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next I think we have Ms. Vaughn. GIS Code Compliance Building Services Budget Visioning Presentation. That's a mouthful.
Yes.
I practiced on that this afternoon. I just did building services.
Good afternoon. Thank you for letting me do this tonight. I'm still recovering from my cold. I feel like it's been a roller coaster and the longest cold that I've ever had in my entire life. So bear with me and my voice tonight. Moving along. Our development department is made up of 5 different divisions. I am over 3 of those divisions. One of them is our building services division, which consists of our office manager, Kay. Mary Ellen is our permit tech. David is our senior building inspector, and then we have Safe Built and Lloyd as our third-party contractors and plan review. Our code compliance division is made up of Jamel Rossi and Jacob Lonis. Both positions are budgeted. I need to go back. Under building services, we still have a building inspector position that is vacant, which we plan on trying to fill this year maybe. It's been open for a few years, but we'll get to that. Both the code compliant positions are filled. And then the GIS division is comprised of me and our GIS analyst, Allie. So accomplishments for 2025 for building services. And before I move on to that, I just want to say that the development department experienced several changes this year, as I've served director for the last 3 months, and following a 3-month interim role, which also included the planning and zoning and economic development responsibilities. Despite periods of uncertainty, staffing challenges, and absence of a building official, this team has demonstrated an exceptional dedication and professionalism. I am extremely proud of the effort, the adaptability, and collaboration shown across all divisions as we work to improve the departmental efficiency and service delivery throughout this year. I couldn't have done it without my team. The building services accomplishments this year: David Damian, our senior building inspector, started in February of 2025. Throughout the year, he has completed the following certifications: his residential building inspector certification, his residential plans examiner certification, and his residential plumbing inspector certification. Our building permits that have been processed within 2025, we've issued 838 permits. That is comprised of 63 new residential permits, our 21 accessory structure permits, 5 new commercial permits, 587 mechanical, electrical, and plumbing permits, and 162 miscellaneous permits. The revenue collected this year within our department has been $551,697. We have completed 1,061 business licenses that were issued in 2025 in partnership with our customer service and clerk's office. And our building inspections, we completed 2,311 inspections. 1,247 were completed through Safe Built, and our senior inspector, David, completed 1,064 inspections of his own. Our process improvements this year, which we just implemented in January 1st, is commercial plan review by Safe Built. This will help with the commercial part of our plan review. We were using Harold, and we have moved away from him to use Safe Built, which was already in our contract. We had just never utilized that part of the contract. Code compliance. Officer Rossi completed his GACE certification training and is expected to receive a certification at the next scheduled training session next month. Officer Lonis continues to actively work toward his completion of his certification training as well. Our code compliance activities in 25 include 350 code compliance cases that were conducted this year. We conducted 9 subdivision compliance checks, and then we completed 1 business license compliance check, which resulted in 15 businesses not having or operating without a business license. All of those businesses did come in compliance except for 1, which is still residing in court. Last year, at the end of 2024, we implemented a new app through GIS where citizens could report their code violations online or through a QR code that we created, which was set out in front of all the different departments. We have received 165 online code compliance emails or through that app. And through short-term rental compliance, 26 Airbnb properties were brought into compliance by obtaining required business licenses. Within our GIS department, GIS staff continues to support city departments through the maintenance and development of our multiple data set and map implementation. We coordinated with Cobb County tax assessors to improve data sharing and synchronizing of the parcel changes. We initiated and implemented the GIS enterprise server. This is to be expected to be completed within the next month. This system will provide improved data management, enhanced online and in-house map services, and an increased security of city GIS asset data layers. Some of the major map projects that we completed in 2025 one of them is the public art story map that we worked with the marketing team. Then we worked with Parks and Rec to create a public parking web map to be used online. And then we have been updating the public transportation, the PTV map updates throughout the year. And then we have created a community resource map, which the mayor has implemented, and we are almost there as far as releasing that map. Initiatives for 2026. For building services, our team would like to update the Safe Built contract to include building official services. We have been looking for a building official for the last 3 years. We have not been able to find one. So we have gone through Safe Built to see what it would take to add on our building official through them. It would not be a full-time position. It would be as needed and to support staff and consult team members and applicants. We would also be converting our existing online PDF permits into Laserfish for an easier way for permitting instead of doing the PDFs that are now listed online. We will also be revamping our building services webpage to provide clearer information on the permitting process. Code enforcement, the officers will continue their GACE training and certification completion. We are going to continue to do our monthly code compliance checks in neighborhoods throughout the city. We will be increasing our number of business license compliance checks throughout the city throughout the year, so we can make sure that all businesses are up to date on their business license. And we're going to continue developing and improving our blight enforcement policies and procedures. Within GIS, we would like to continue to support our city departments. We will be transferring data from the ArcGIS Online to our new ArcGIS Enterprise server for improved data management. This is going to be a full year process. It may be over a couple years, because once we get the server built, we'll be taking data from ArcGIS Online and transferring it onto the server, but then we have to rebuild all of our maps and apps within the server to push back out onto the web. So, starting from the ground up. We will be coordinating with the power department to integrate the newly collected power data into our GIS system in preparation for the upcoming smart meter implementation. And we would like to start GIS focused lunch and learns for staff wanting to learn more on how to use GIS. Future personnel request. I'd like to reclassify the permit technician to a permit coordinator when the position becomes vacant. This position will serve as a primary point of contact for permit applications from submittal through completion, act as a liaison between project managers, contractors, architects, engineers, and government agencies to ensure timely approvals. And they will also be maintaining the permit records within Laserfish once they are created. I'd like to reclassify senior building inspector to building services manager. This position will provide oversight of permit coordinator and the building inspector roles, serve as the primary liaison with Safe Built for inspections, plan review, and potential building official services. They will also be responsible for updating ordinances as needed to meet the building code. I would like to add a new GI analyst position for the Power and Public Works Department, which would be housed at the Power and Public Works Department. They would support the needs for stormwater, streets, sanitation, and power, and manage and maintain power utility data updates to help support the smart meter and implementation. I feel this is very important because when we get over there, we're housed here at City Hall, and when we go over to our office over at Power and Public Works, they're all coming and asking questions. Hey, can you do this? Can you do this? Hey, what can we do this? And it's great to know the information that they need help with, because when we're over here, they're in their own little world over there, and we don't get asked as many questions. I would also like to reclassify our GIS analyst, Allie Gorman, to GIS administrator to provide oversight of the GIS analyst at Power and Public Works, oversee the GIS enterprise server and database management, to maintain the GIS support for Parks and Recreation, Police, Development Department, and the administration, and to serve as a liaison with the Cobb County GIS departments and Kennesaw 911. And lastly, capital request, we would like to request an extended cab truck to replace our 2014 building inspector vehicle, but retain the current truck as a backup for code compliance when their trucks go down or for the future building inspector use. Any questions?
I got a question. So looking at the permits that we have processed, that permit process was for 2025?
Yes.
And how did that compare with 2024?
I'll have to pull that data.
Just look at that. I'm
Okay.
interested in the permit. Did we process more or process less?
Okay.
Is there a trend? And then also give me the dollars generated, 541,000,
Okay.
whatever, for 2024. You can just send that to me in an email.
Yes, sir.
Good job, Kathy.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I have
Kathy.
a question. I have a question for the GSI. You're asking for Allie to, her job description would be adding more to what she's doing, or is broadening her title so she'll, because it looks like it should be over like three different.
We between me and Allie, we cover all the different departments. So the way it's structured is I primarily do most of the deep dive into the GIS, the implementing of the maps, the organization of the website and everything, and she concentrates more on the updates of the layers.
Okay.
So if we add a person to Power and Public Works, they would be the analyst, and they would be over the Power and Public Works divisions. And then bringing her up with the GIS server, we need a database manager to be able to maintain that information, but she would be overlooking them, but not maintaining all of the data over in Power and Public Works.
And the police, because you got the Parks and Rec Police
Yeah.
Department.
Yeah.
So that one new person would be over those.
Allie would still be over police.
Okay. So you are looking for another person to be on your team for her to divide this.
Yes.
Okay. Because I thought this was going to be
Because
all
now
of
that
us.
I'm over all the GIS building services and all of that, my duties as far as GIS has dwindled severely. So I am no longer able to maintain all the data that me and her have been able to keep track of in the last several years.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Thank you.
thank you.
Anything else? Okay, city manager update. Mr. Albright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm going to go through a few upcoming events with you, and then I'm going to ask Mr. Friedrich to update you on some legislation. If you recall, the other day at our budget visioning retreat, there was some specific legislation that you had asked to be briefed on. So he's going to do that after I go over the dates, and then I'll modify my report based on that time frame. So some dates you need to be aware of. So Thursday's a big day from 7:30 to 9:30 in the morning at Crane's Coffee. We'll be doing a team member appreciation event. We typically do one around Valentine's Day every year where the team can stop in and get a cup of coffee or a treat there. So if you want to come hang out with us, we'll be there from 7:30 in the morning until 9:30 in the morning at Crane's Coffee. Thursday, we have the State of the City. That'll take place over at the community center at 11:30. I would highly advise you to be there by 11ish to go ahead and get in the food line and get seated. And then Thursday night we have our regular meeting here in the chambers. Next Thursday, February 12th, from 6 to 8. We have the County City Splost open house. There's no presentation. It's just simple stations that we have set up. We as a team are developing some information boards for the public. The county will be there with their projects as well, soliciting input from the residents there. On Friday the 13th, there'll be a ribbon cutting potentially for Saddle Bar. We're working through some final permitting things. If we can clear all those hurdles, that will stay on track. If not, we may have to delay that ribbon cutting there. So. All right, I'm going to turn it over to James to give you an update on some of the legislation that you had asked to be briefed on.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Board. So just want to take a couple of minutes to go over two pieces of legislation that go hand in hand with each other. This is something that came up over the past couple of weeks as the new session just got started. First is House Resolution 1114. This is a proposed constitutional amendment which would allow and ultimately require statewide elimination of property taxes, which would be subject to voter approval through a referendum. And then House Bill 1116 is the enabling legislation that would implement that proposed constitutional amendment. So want to go over a few key bullet points for each of those, and then if you guys have any questions or concerns, I'm happy to answer them to the best of my ability or to look into those further. So with the House Resolution 1114, again, that's the proposed constitutional amendment. It would fully eliminate property taxes statewide by January 1st of 2032, regardless of any sort of other alternative local sales tax adoptions. It would also authorize local finance assessments to fund services and capital projects with corresponding millage rollbacks. This, because it's a constitutional amendment for the state, would require voter referenda for local millage rate increases and anything that generates additional revenue growth for a municipality. So those are some key bullet points.
Hey, James.
Yes, sir.
I'm afraid I'll forget. I'll ask us now if that's okay.
Yeah.
Are you saying that what I heard, and I'm sure it's not correct, that it would require a voter referendum to raise millage rates?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, there's some of the
any millage rate.
There's several kind of versions out there right now, and one of the things is I believe when property tax revenue, budgeted property tax revenues exceed 3%, that it would have to be approved by a referendum of the voters.
Say that again.
All right, so anytime that just the budgeted property tax revenue goes above 3% in a given year, if you budget for more than that, then it has to be a voter referendum.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that that kind of ties into the House Bill 1116 as well. Any other questions before I move on?
Do
No,
want
no,
to
just
do want to
nothing.
point out for it to go to referendum, it requires what 2/3 of the vote of the House and the Senate too. I don't believe it's a simple majority for something to go forward with a referendum
Yeah.
either. Some of this is in a reaction to House Bill 581, where the state passed it, where they gave you the option,
I understand.
and I guess maybe the state wasn't thrilled with local municipalities, school boards
Yeah.
opting out of that. So this is
Yeah.
more the hammer.
So let me get clarification because you just said something that made me think. So we're not saying that would require a referendum, voter referendum every time we change the millage rate. You're talking about this is a referendum to allow the change of the millage rate if it goes over 3%. It wouldn't happen every time.
That's the way we understand it right now.
Okay, that's
And
that's
look,
different.
with
I was
any
thinking.
piece of legislation, there's going to be some evolution between now and crossover day if it makes it.
Oh,
there.
sure. I was just what I was hearing was we have to have the people vote on millage rate increases if it's above 3%. So okay, I got you. I'm with you.
But if I'm correct, it give you the opportunity to do a floss, right? You can institute a floss if this legislative pass.
In this legislation, it is. I know in the optional one that was what you
I
gained
think
from
it's
it.
still
Yeah.
in this.
It's
I think
still there in this
I
one.
think it's an option if it's used to lower the property taxes.
Yeah, that's,
Toss
on,
it.
well, that's the only thing it can be used for anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, I don't know specifically about a floss. I know, so House Bill 1116 does talk about some creating some mechanisms to replace lost property tax revenue. They mentioned specifically special district sales taxes. So, for example, what House Bill 1116 is looking to do is create a special district sales tax starting after taxable year 2027 and lasting for 10 years, unless in between 2027 and 2037 the General Assembly decides to end that local act. But with these special district sales tax implementation, any proceeds from the tax must be used for tax relief for homestead properties, and if there is an excess of sales tax proceeds, it has to be used to roll back the millage rate. So again, that's what that 3%. If there is an excess of the 3% revenue growth, that has to go back to that has to be used for a millage rate.
Is
rollback.
this related to the special district tax? Or are you talking about all like SPLOST and everything?
No, I believe this is just for this newly created special district sales tax.
Okay.
However, one of the sections mentions that, going back to your question about referendums for local millage rate increases, it does say that after January 1st of 2032, if revenues generated from property taxes are 3% or greater than the previous fiscal year, that does have to be approved through a local referendum. And if that referendum does not pass, the local government has to create basically a new local budget ordinance that would then have to be voted on and approved by the board. So,
You know what? Give me those bills again.
yeah, and I can give you guys links. GMA does a really great job of summarizing.
Just send that to me because
Yeah.
this is
It's
this
like House
this
Bill
bill requires
589
some
all over
homework.
again, and I think it's just another example of the states not really considering their impact on local.
Yeah, we'll
government.
send you the link to the
But-
GMA site. This is just a few things, but there's a lot of legislation out there, and GMA will show on their site things that they support, things they're working with the author of the bill on, and then things that they oppose as well.
So just from your experience in this realm and yours, walk me through this. So we're going to eliminate income tax in the next, say, decade. We're going to eliminate property tax, say, within the next decade. So how are we going to fund the city? How do the locals fund themselves?
I think what you'll find in some of this legislation when you read it, it looks like they may be drifting more towards consumption-based tax or special service district type arrangements.
Which makes sense because they basically said that, a special district sales tax, which to me, I read between the lines, says they're going to give us more local authority to have a local sales tax, where now we're tied, joined at the hip with the county and the state, and so they're about to open that up on a consumption. So the state of Georgia, in my opinion, it sounds like we're moving toward a consumption-based funding of our budgets.
Yeah, I'd
But the
remind
only
you
problem with that is it's not consistent when you start doing a consumption base, because you have down years, up years, so it'll be very complicated to make a budget, because you can make your budget and sales drop, then where that revenue is going to come from. So it's a lot.
Well, and the comment was that they're going to put a 3% cap on your consumption revenues, consumption tax revenues as well. So you can't build a coffer for the lean years on that. So
Yeah, and I'm not sure. It'd be interesting to go back and look at the vote where it moved House Bill 581 to referendum. If that had to have probably had some level of bipartisan effort, and will that occur with this particular legislation? Because again, I could be mistaken, but I believe it takes the 2/3 majority to get it out to a referendum. So I believe in what I was reading, that would certainly require a bipartisan effort. It couldn't just be one party probably delivering on that.
and again, just publicly speaking here, I'm not opposed to that approach. I would favor consumption-based revenue for funding the government, but that's a major undertaking to eliminate the two major sources of revenue and swiftly replace them with something else. So, good luck, state legislature on that.
We can get the link out to all these, but again, there's way more than this too.
Yeah, it's
Way more details on these, or way more
There's
things
more
going on.
detail on those, but there's also a lot more legislation out there too. So this link that we'll send you will have a link to everything that's being proposed this
Okay,
year.
yeah, because I need to do some homework on that myself just to better understand it, because it's pretty radical. Again, not against it, but wow.
So that's kind of just wanted to brief you guys that that's what the state's considering. They're looking at moving away from property taxes. So,
And income tax. Both.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, James. All right, so on the dais is a copy of the book that we shared at the budget visioning session that our high performance team will be walking through. We highly encourage you to read it. In the inside back cover, if you're interested in taking the assessment, it's included with the book. It'll tell you what your languages of appreciation in the workplace are. So we'll be diving into that this coming Friday, this Friday with our team. Some updates from around the departments in the finance and customer service world. Our 1099s and W-2s have been distributed. We have to have those out by the end of January. We're currently conducting fixed asset reviews for insurance purposes. It's an annual thing that we do. We'll be bringing to you in the next meeting our mid-year amendments. That does include the funding for the Drone as First Responder program that the board approved back in December, along with any unforeseen expenditures that we saw, HVAC units and things like that needed to be replaced mid-year. The budget process has officially started with the budget visioning work session. We met with the leadership team today and set out the schedule. City Treasurer Norris will be meeting with the department heads. We found a way within our existing system to improve our notes that we enter into the budget system, and it'll also help with future entry into budget cycles. So that has officially started. We'll have work sessions in the month of May, 2, possibly 3. We'll work towards the public hearing being the first part of June, and then the budget adoption in the middle of June. In the human resources world, we have biometric screenings coming up. We incentivize the team members with both gift cards, but then also through the Cigna Wellness Program. They're, depending on the scores that they receive through that biometric screening, can achieve more gift cards. We have 143 participants, which is a really good turnout this year. We've always said the reason for biometric screenings being involved in our wellness program is that we may be able to catch those catastrophic things in advance. We've heard some really good stories from our team in the past that maybe weren't aware of a major medical issue until they had the biometric
Hey,
screening
James, you
done.
said we had 143 participate?
Yeah.
So we already did. When was it?
Next week.
Oh,
it's
you mean
coming up
signed
next-
up?
Yes.
Is it
signed
too late to
right
sign
now.
up?
No. We
Okay.
can.
Let me look into
We'll
that.
make a note and have HR get with you
Okay.
to get you signed up. Working through payroll this week, it's a little more complex anytime we have storm or inclement weather pay included with that. I know Deputy Manager Luna and Deputy Manager Wilson have been hard at work on that policy, making sure that we're getting that correct in this process. In the IT world, we'll start now that a lot of the work is done at Cobble Park. The conduit was installed by Power, and the fiber's in place to start installing our camera system at Cobble Park. We were also working on, per the request of the budget visioning session, a more center-mounted camera for our streaming services. Then we talked about the Splost open house and preparing for that. Working on a consolidation plat for the parcels that we've acquired on North Main Street, formerly the Kennedy property up there. Vicky, if you are reaching out to her this week in the clerk's office, she is at a training. And Regina, Ms. Russell is hard at work on FOIA requests. They're on the high side coming out of the gates first of the year. DDA, Tourism, and HPC. The McCrae House is scheduled to be moved on February 17th. So we're excited about that day. Thanks to the work of Power and the coordination through ECG as well. Comcast was able to raise their lines versus having to drop them that day, which makes it less likely that we have to have any extended road closures there. So that's a good thing from that perspective. And then Mr. Chase reported at our leadership team meeting today that the lease is complete between Bazaar Coffee and the DDA to occupy that building. We're still on track for completion of April, and then allowing for about 6 weeks after that for them to do their tenant build out. Working on our street light layout with the power department and coordinating that for the downtown streetscape project. If you recall, as we had our last discussion on that plan, we were going to have to space the poles out differently there, so they're working on getting adequate lighting there. Ms. Vaughn reported on this, but our next code sweep is coming up, or we're in the midst of it in the Dallas Landing area. And then we are also in the process, you had put in place towards the end of last year, a moratorium on drone delivery. And a lot of that's because we didn't have anything in our zoning ordinance to address that. So we can always put moratoriums in place to buy us time to make sure of that. Staff will be going out and visiting the Woodstock location to see it on site. We may ask the development chair and vice chair to attend that if you would like to, just to see what their operations look like. We understand that Woodstock didn't necessarily have zoning in place either, but they've allowed it maybe on a temporary basis to try it out. I know Hiram has done it at that Walmart there as well. We also had questions this morning with our first responder drone of how that works in terms of coordination. So just starting to explore that process because that moratorium will expire in September and that will be here before we know it. So we want to be proactive on that. In the world of operations, Deputy Manager Luna has been working on getting out the AMI, the smart meter package. The first RF or invitation for bid that'll go out is actually the metering system. So that'll run 4 weeks in the Merida Daily Journal, and then those bids will come in probably March 4th. And we'll open those. So that's the first phase of this. And there's about 4 or 5 of those invitation for bids and requests for qualifications that will ultimately go out. Northside Drive, we are working with CSX. They've submitted comments back both on the utility portion of that and then the shoring of those walls. So still kind of grinding through that murky process. Acworth due west, we've got about 75% of the appraisals complete there. Remember, that's mostly for temporary construction easements, not necessarily the acquisition. There's only like 1 or 2 parcels that require any type of permanent acquisition. And then Deputy Manager Luna will lead the regular project meetings starting this month to get that project on track, expecting to bid it out in that April-May timeframe like we discussed.
Once we bid it out, how long do you think it'll be before we start construction?
Well, if we're on track to get it out to bid in the April, let's say we award it in May, I could see something latter part of June, 1st of July.
Oh, okay.
The Public Works still up until yesterday was monitoring and spot treating icy conditions out on the roadways. We haven't really gotten above freezing too much over the last 5 to 6 days. And then they are working on the final pricing to bring forth on the new McEver sidewalk project from Acworth Industrial to Main Street. That small section right there, it's a project we can kind of serve as the general contractor on and do some of that in-house and save money. In the power department, we are fully staffed there, which is good news. If you've been down Cowan Road lately, the lights are finished from Spring Street to Main Street. So we had a contractor come in and put in the conduit, and then our team finished out the job there.
So let me just interrupt you right there,
Yes,
since
sir.
you brought that up. Since I was talking about it a lot, it really looks good. It really looks good.
This is
Great
street
job.
lights you're talking about?
Yeah, because we were able to do half. So when we put the trail in, we were able to do from Spring Meadow Drive up into the traffic light at Spring Street. And then we had some other projects start in Northside Drive, the Cobble Park project, and we ended up securing the services of a contractor to come in and help expedite that, so we were able to get that project
Good.
complete.
Hey, I have a question on Cowan while you're there. So in our new ordinance, you can cross a PTV can cross a 35 mile an hour road at a light. We have a light there where the trailhead comes out. There's currently a sign that says no crossing, no PTV crossing. Are we going to take that sign down?
Yes, sir. Remember we had talked about being April 1, being that full transition. So
Gotcha.
what Chief had talked a little bit about there is both he and the Public Works Department, their team, are working on a signage plan because you remember there's speed limits on trails. We're expanding the district. So that is the goal. So April 1.
April 1.
that is
Okay,
what-
good,
Yeah.
good.
Good question. Power is currently working on finishing up standing the lights over at Cobble Park. If you haven't had an opportunity to drive down there and see the park, it looks really, really, really good. Then all that needs to happen over on Northside Drive, the conduit's been run. There's some underground and some lights that need to be stood there and just need to put that wiring in there. We got notification that they are building a second phase, and just as a reminder, our power territory is not confined to just the city limits or Cobb County. We have territory in Bartow County, and there's another apartment complex that is similar in size and scope to the one that was just built, the Chadwick. And so from a power provider's perspective, we'll gain several customers there as well.
That's Bartow or Cherokee?
That is Bartow. Yep. The other interchange across the way is Cherokee. We put out through social media recently a boards and commissions solicitations. Although we don't have a lot of spots open right now, it is good to have those applications on file as positions do come open. Parks Department's working on an RFQ or has solicited an RFQ for paddle sports rentals with Appalachian Outfitters no longer in business. We need to have a provider down at the beach where people can rent paddle boards, kayaks, and canoes. Cemetery project, working on finalizing that budget, which may require some board approval to amend that final PO and close that project out. The grading is substantially complete there, and just working through some final specifications to see where we stand financially on that project. Cobble Park is down to the punch list. We tentatively have a ribbon cutting set for March to officially open that. I do want to take the opportunity to congratulate the Parks, Recreation, and Community Resource Team on the Champions of Service Banquet. If you had an opportunity to attend that, it was a well thought out event. Heard a lot from our volunteers, how much they appreciated being honored that evening and just having a simple, nice night out. It wasn't complicated. It was exactly like the team had proposed in the budget, and they did a good job with that. And then we've already talked through a lot of the police items there. So that concludes my report for this evening. If there's any questions outside of that or anything you need us to look into, we'd be glad to.
Good. Everybody good? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Houston. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Good job, everybody.